And it doesn't seem like it has at all, obviously. And there's a lot that you've been talking about out there. And one of the things, and I was following you, I was checking your posts all the time when it was the drone stuff was happening. Because I'm not too far from, I'm in New York, right? So when all this stuff was happening in Jersey, and you're getting these reports of all these different things that are happening, I was like, why is Graves is the one guy here? It sounds like he's actually there's reason he's got some reason behind this stuff, because you're saying I'm talking to people who say this. I'm like, I'm gonna believe that guy as opposed to the guy who's making the videos in the basement. And it's like, so talk to me about this. What do you know about this drone stuff now? Do you think is the case? What do you think is happening? Do you think we're ever going to get to the bottom of it? Because it's still happening, and that is the mainstream media just isn't covering it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is still happening. So, it's very interesting to see all this play out. And, in some ways we're fortunate it's playing out in this manner, right? Because we've seen very much in Ukraine that the implications of how warfare is changing because of these types of assets can have severe ramifications for future warfighting capabilities. And we're a bit protected here in North America from having an adversary fly these theoretically across the border to do this to us. But we're finding out now that this is happening from some actor, that the laws and the regulations in place are not equipped to be able to rapidly respond to this type of situation. The FAA is pointing to federal law enforcement, who's pointing to local law enforcement, who's pointing to the DoD, who's pointing back to the FAA, and no one knows how to resolve the issue with the systems that are set up in place. And I'm aware of efforts from counter UAS companies and others that want to get out there and help these government agencies resolve this issue in some manner, and they just can't even figure out how to accept the help.
Right.
And even to the question of how do we shoot one of these down, a base commander has to take that request to the Secretary of Defense and essentially accept liability for it. And so that's not how we rapidly respond to situations. And same on the civilian side. There's potential Fourth Amendment issues with what they have to assume are civilian or commercial drones and intercepting those communications. And so that's a Deputy Attorney General request going in. So we have these kind of back channeled high profile ways of dealing with it that people don't want to engage, but we don't have the kind of rapid on the ground type of response that we need to rapidly be able to mitigate a situation like this. And by knowing this now, we can make those adjustments such that if it happens again, what if drones started swarming Hawaii from China, right? We'd have the same issue. And that, we can, I think historically can look at how serious such an attack could be. Let's figure this out now. And, not have to be worried about mitigating this when perhaps these things are carrying weapons, electronic warfare systems, intelligence systems, and, not to say these aren't, but so far one of them hasn't, caused any kinetic damage. Thank goodness. So, this is a time to correct our systems and go out and test some of these capabilities that they have in the commercial world for dealing with it. Americans for Safe Aerospace is talking to some leading companies that provide these capabilities and are prepared to go out boots on the ground and do our own investigation.
So there was a couple different reports on this, a few of them which you said that you believe were not the case, and one of them that these things were looking for nuclear activity, that these things were looking for lost nukes. I think it was what one of the reports were out there. There were others that are saying that it was being sent from Iran. I think was one of the reports as well. And to which, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, to which you're like, that's not what you were hearing. Do you have an idea in your head what you think that these things are in general? What I mean, because I know everything that you just said makes complete sense, but like, is there any world that this is indeed something of the nature of what you saw back when in the gimbal stuff? Or is it not the same, obviously, but in the same, you know what I'm saying? Like, is NHI, I guess, is what I would say.
Well, let's talk about some of those options. So, there's the thought that this could be the adversarial systems, right? And so China, Russia, Iran, and the talk I heard about Iran is that they were utilizing technology that was provided by China in order to conduct a mission like this. So, now we're talking about countries on the other side of the world conducting complex potentially military operations on the other side of the globe, right? We consider that a blue water Navy capability, which we're the only Navy that really has the ability to do such operations like that. And not only that, but our ability to monitor for submarines, ship traffic, both commercial and military off our coast is very robust, right? It's very easy to see these large vehicles off our coast. It's something that, we've invested a lot of resources into being able to do, especially, after or during the Cold War. And so to have one of these countries, either launching from a submarine, launching from a military ship, or launching from a commercial tanker, perhaps, right, in some kind of stealthy operation. Um, that's conceivable, but I have to assume the Department of Defense would be able to detect such operations, and they've made those statements publicly themselves that there are no Iranian ships or
Right.
others that are launching these off our coast, and they're very definitive on that. And at least on that piece, I believe them. Um, and so, if we're not launching them off the coast, well, one, why are we seeing them come from the ocean? Which, I don't think we have an answer for. But, one conceivable option would be that these were being operated by perhaps some criminal activity in conjunction with a foreign actor in order to have a degree of separation. But for, a large criminal organization within the United States to be conducting large scale air operations, with unmanned systems, is a bit of a stretch in my mind. I mean, sure, there's singular type activity that happens for drug muling across the border, but this is, potentially hundreds of drones that not only are they there, but they seem to be exhibiting signal management capabilities. They are having a very difficult time detecting these on radar, on infrared. They're not having luck determining a source location based off of RF transmissions. So, whoever is operating these seems to be exhibiting, technology of a different form, right? We'd have to assume that these are very sophisticated unmanned systems that are utilizing advanced signal management that's defeating multi-band detection systems. So again, is that a criminal activity doing that? Is that coming from phantom ships? Those don't seem very likely when you kind of add up all those pieces. And I think that's where it leaves us with the big question mark. I don't think we can rule out an adversary at this point necessarily. We certainly can rule in a lot of misidentification once the media picked it up. But where does that lead us with the ones that don't fit that bill? And we don't have that answer yet. I think it's premature to make the assumption that because we can't identify them, they must be quote unquote aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But they are fitting this category of exhibiting advanced capabilities beyond the state of the art, and very much fit the bill of a UAP. And I think it's important to remember that this started in 2022
Mm-hmm.
at Langley Air Force
Yep.
Base, happened again in 2023 at Langley Air Force Base, same time period. And Langley Air Force Base is essentially the Air Force equivalent of the base I was operating at. It's only separated by about 100 miles. Which is basically nothing in the air. So this is like an adjacent sister airspace to where we were having all these incidents,
Right.
from 2013-ish to even today. So can we tie them together? It's I don't think we can definitively make that statement right now, but it's that's what adds to, I think, the mysteriousness of this event that's occurring. It's happened over years. It's been adjacent to areas that have had reports of this for nearly a decade, if not longer. And we're still no closer, it seems, to understanding what they are.